Hey everybody, this is B from Kongs R Us, and welcome to a Sunday Fun Day show. Mrs. Kongs R Us will be here shortly. She already has her bottle of bubbly to drink up. I think she said she wanted to do her eyebrows a little bit. She has the thing about wanting to look good on camera, but that's okay. We'll hang out for just a little bit while we chat about this Sunday Fun Day. So it looks like the Sunday Home Arcade lineup is changing up a little bit. I saw that Fox went on a little bit earlier today. Console Kids isn't a band now, so we're here hanging out. So there's a lot of places you could be watching home arcade content, and I appreciate all of you that are here live. And if you're watching this on the replay, thanks for catching it there. I think this is an interesting topic, especially recently based off a video that I posted earlier today. If you haven't checked it out yet, I spent a little bit of time diving into what I saw were a lot of things that were missing from their upcoming Arcade1Up Fast and Furious release. So I thought it was just an interesting topic to see, should we keep going the route of getting little bit, I would say, like watered down titles that they're missing core components of certain titles versus some of the older titles that were being released, there was less issues because the games themselves didn't need to be modified. Classic arcade titles don't have that much in terms of licensing besides getting the actual game itself. Maybe there's some artwork things, but that's the main topic I want to talk about today. Go over your questions in the chat to see if you guys have any other thoughts and topics. Let me know if there's certain titles that you think will actually work out for the cabinet, and we'll get into some of the issues with each of the cabinets that I mentioned in my thumbnail, and even look at the breadth of cabinets that have come out from Arcade1Up over the last, oh my goodness, 5 years or so. The 3/4 scale cabinet design has been around for 5 years now. And, are we expecting too much? That's the thing. I don't know. I think some people are saying, I think I saw somebody in one of my comments was that we expect too much from the home arcade community. We should just enjoy the products as they are. And for the most part, like, I'm mostly a happy camper. I'm mostly a happy customer. You can see behind me that yes, I've loved this hobby for the last several years. But there are some things that even for me, who is a fan of the company and what it's been able to do, that still irks me when it comes to the releases of some of the recent titles. Is just part of me has just not been very satisfied as a customer when things come out and they're not as great as they could be. So that's today's show. That's what we're going to talk about. But let's make sure that we check and say hello with the chat. Console fanboys here, obviously. Hello. Stupid Fat Hobbit says it's basically classics like Donkey Kong, Robotron, Track and Field, Afterburner, Cube Art, modern versus modern day Daytona, WrestleFest, Smash TV, House of the Dead, Crazy Taxi. Those are good titles from that we haven't seen released in the old classic games, I would say, versus modern. Like, and when we say modern, even 90s arcade titles, I guess that would be considered modern-ish, right? I mean, they're almost classic. They're almost 30 years old now, right? When does classic versus modern really take off? That's a really good question. Hayden says, give me Hydro Thunder. Hydro Thunder is a great game, right? I would consider that just from a graphical standpoint, more on the modern side. Mikey Newton's here. He says, you don't think they have a business strategy. To be honest, you think they're just pushing out whatever license they can pull off. I think to a certain extent, there's a roadmap and a plan, but, roadmap and plans don't always equal execution. And that's the big deal. Like, how are they executing the licenses that they've been able to secure? And maybe one arm of the company may be able to secure something, but the execution on the next side of it maybe doesn't follow all the way through. What's up, War? Good to see you. Cyber Siles is here. Pac-Man Stick. Jason says, Brooke and Mellis, you used to love rolling roller coasters when you made it to Sheepshead the Bay. Talking about New York. Got some New Yorkers here. Mike Hawk is here. Says she's shy all of a sudden. Are you shy, Mrs. Kongs or us?
I am sure I'm shy. I'm shy.
Mike is putting on all the different stickers and things. You've dressed up as a diva. You've dressed up as Chun-Li, Morgan, Big Bug. Thanks for being a member, Mike. Mike gets access to some nice little stickers there from Mrs. Kongs or us. We gotta see some updated stickers of you in
believe
costume.
me, I have updated costumes.
Do you?
Just gotta update the stickers.
I do? Okay,
Yes.
I gotta put some work into
Hello,
the
my
membership tiers.
pockets.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being a member, Mike. You've been really great. Wild Stallions. I'm not sure what that is. Is that what you think this is? Do you think this is Wild? Do you know what Wild Stallions is from? What is Wild Stallions from?
Wild Stallions is from Bill and Ted's. Is it Bill and Ted's? I'm
Bill
gonna
and
say
Ted.
Excellent Adventure.
It is.
That's the.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
Is it the first movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were like, we're Wild Stallions. Yes. I love you that you know that.
Well, you had that the two from Comic Con, an exclusive of Bill and Ted. I remember you wanting it so badly. You got it, and you're like, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Vinyl figures. There we go.
Yes. I think I sold it.
Yes, you did.
All right, Etran Fanatic says, watched your Fast and Furious video. It went up, dropped the ball. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that Fast and Furious video in just a second, but we're going to say hello to chat. San Dimas High School football rules. You know, if growing up, all these locations of movies, I never realized a lot of them are in places now that as adults. Oh my goodness, Matt Moo, what are you doing? What are you doing, my Star Wars trilogy?
My finger's up.
Get off. Get off. Like San Dimas for Bill and Ted's was where there's Encino Man in the valley. You know, the Karate Kid was actually in the valley. Did you know Saved by the Bell was in Palisades?
It wasn't. They didn't call it Palisades.
But
Bayside.
It's Bayside, but essentially it's Palisades. And then the valley was actually the valley.
Apparently,
like little
certain
things.
In the valley.
Little certain things. We can talk movies all day, but yeah. Console Fanboy says, honestly, we're never going to question every one of these product releases. You never know what you're getting. I know. Mike says you have no interest in Fast and Furious, but having said that, these cats ever hit 1 in 9, you might bring it. That's true. Nooner wants more 80s, right? 500, 600, you expect something. I just don't like the way that we're discovering some of these. Yeah, it's $600 for the Fast and Furious cabinet.
I mean, it's a cabinet, yeah.
Just call the cabinet Drift and Furious. You know what? I wouldn't be mad if they actually just titled the cabinet Fast and Furious Drift and then in saying it includes the original Fast and Furious title. So we'll get to that. I think that's a great point. Jay says, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Kongs. Hello, JR. Bob. Oif says, you understand vehicle licensing, but the fact they remade tracks as advertised. That's true. No questions tonight. Just love the channel. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate you being here. 1UP is like a box of chocolates. What does that mean?
You never know what you're going to get.
Yes, thank you. Life was like a box of chocolates, not life is like a box of chocolates. It's the Mandela effect, right? Talking about that recently. Mikey Yoon says it's not even Fast and Furious. It's Tokyo Drift reskinned. You're not wrong. Grift, heavy air quotes in modern. You play retro classics and you play MAME FFs. Good. Hayden says, give me Midway Racers Deluxe Registry with Hydro Thunder and marquee titles like Rush and California Extreme. You know, those 90 titles, they're kind of on the cusp because they skipped a whole generation of arcades with Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious Arcade 1UP titles, those titles are from 2004 and 2007. So you've gone up in terms of technology of the ports and saying, why can't we do an arcade racer, aka Daytona from 1992 or 93, or Cruising USA from the mid 90s, right? These are arcade titles that we skipped. And like, we think if you can do something from 2004, 2007, you should be now at this point, be able to do the 90s titles at this point in time. So I think you make a good point for those. They release Hydro Thunder. Will they take out the water? Not quite sure. All right. Mike says, now that the iArcade has like and support, it's time for them to take a big chance on a big time modern shooting game. Build the next 18 months of business around iArcade. Did you like that Operation Wolf from last week?
It was okay.
It was all right?
Yeah.
Would you like to see more modern shooter titles like House of the Dead on that cabinet or anything else?
What's considered modern? What year?
Kind of just like more 3D graphics versus like the graphics that you saw on. So when we say modern, the split in arcade games is like, you know, 2-bit graphics versus 3D modeling is like, I would say modern stuff. Yeah. Like Time Crisis would be modern, right? Because it has that. All right. If Arcade1Up sold ROMs, could you add to your machine? I don't think that's their business model. That's the arcade model. So I don't think they would ever go that route. Sadly, nobody's figured out how to emulate the arcade version of Hydro Thunder. Yeah, I know that game is hard to emulate. I don't have it on any of my builds. This is true. Now, those are some nice eyebrows, Mrs. Kong.
Thank you, Mikey Yoon.
Yeah.
I actually had to redraw them because it fell asleep when I was napping.
We did have a good nap. We almost didn't do the show. We almost slept through this time frame.
Yeah, he wasn't kidding me. He said, going to start the show now. And I was like, well, it gives me time to go do something.
Yeah. It's good. All right, Bob says, honestly, you have no nostalgia for Fast and Furious, but for cruising, you were looking for this most updated version. Yeah, that would have been great. Jester Tester's here. What's up, man? Check out Jester Tester. Love your channel. HF Fanatic saying looking good. All right, we're getting to the point where everybody is saying hello, Wild Stallions. All right, they took the PC version of Hydro Thunder, changed the press start to coin. They'd be pretty much go to go. They're basically the same game. You believe. I'll have to look that up. I haven't really looked into that.
What's the name of the water park that Bill and Ted was in?
Raging Waters.
That's the one that Napoleon was in?
Raging Waters. Raging Waters. Not Wild Rivers. Raging Waters. That's right. Yes. Cat on the cab alert. All right. The Princess Leia put out milk for the cat. Phone booth arrived. All right. That's why Bayside was always playing in the Valley for football and Saved by the Bell. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, isn't that right? That was fun. All right, we're catching up to the chat. All right, let's jump all the way down to the bottom now. All right, Cyber Styles is here. Calvin Wan says, if they do Time Crisis right, you hope for an alien shooting type game. An Area 51 doesn't take a lot of power to run. I think an Alien Area 51 maximum force cabinet is like totally doable. And I don't see any like licensing things that they would take out from a game like Area 51. That's a classic shooter. They should absolutely do Area 51 next and then do Maximum Force. Actually, Soul Edge, Soul Calibur, yeah, more modern fighting titles like Virtua Fighter, Soul Edge, Soul Calibur, Tekken, a lot of stuff. MK4 would be modern. You hear MK4 is coming out with fatalities with only one character. Can you imagine a fighting game that came out but was missing certain characters? And I know racing games, the cars aren't considered like car characters, so it's okay to miss a few. But out of the list of both the Fast and Furious games, there was 23 cars between the two games that I looked at, right? And there's only 2 of the cars that are overlapping that are in both games. Yeah. So that means there's 21 unique cars.
The moon is calling me.
All right. I was just about to ask you a math question.
I was going to answer it.
All right. She's away. All right. So if you watched the video I posted earlier today, out of the 21 cars, there's only 8 of them, right? And so you have 13 missing cars. That's like over 56 to 60%. So we'll ask Mrs. Kong to Russ again what she thinks. I think she watched the video. I don't know if she's going to remember or not, but we'll see. We'll see what she says. All right. But at what point should a win-up just say no to release if too many concessions happen? This is a great question. I think Travis MCP was saying this the other night too, is that it probably gets to a point where they shouldn't release a title because it's too different and it's less of a nostalgic money grab and maybe doing more justice to the title than to release versions that are not the same game. I maybe the marketing and the whole point of Arcade1Up is really trying to reach the super casual audience that's not going to care as much about the original title. I think that's kind of where we're at now at this point in time, is like we always knew that many of these titles we could play in other ways. Like, Fast and Furious was one of the first few titles that came out that, it's not easy to emulate. So I was curious about it, but most everything else, we have ways to play original games, but we want the cabinet because they have unique features like online play, other things like that. So it's a great question though. All right, back to math question.
Hello, the Moo.
Hello,
I had to go get him. If not, he would spent the entire stream crying.
All right. So out of 21 cars, unique cars between the 2 different titles, how many are missing, do you think?
I think I vaguely remember from
you remember from the video? But what would be like an appropriate number out of that group?
Did you say only 2 was available? So 19 cars were missing?
No, 8 cars are available.
8 cars are available.
Yeah, so 13 are missing out of the whole list.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, right? Yeah, it's a huge roster of, core. You pick a car, and the cars themselves, even though they're not like fighting game characters with different fighting styles, if you look at the stats of each of the cars, it says acceleration, turning, maximum speed. There's like actual stats for each car. So technically they kind of play a little bit differently. So there's a lot of them that are missing. So man, it's kind of crazy. Oh, all right. Hydro Thunder is being worked on Google. The problems with security keys. All right, we got a lot of Hydro Thunder talk. Will Time Crisis be 20 inches screen? At this point, if they take it this long, you hope they'll just make it an XL. Possibly. I wouldn't think it would be an XL cabinet yet, because if they're gonna go the route they have been, I think if I had to guess, it would be a deluxe style cabinet with linkable, just like the Fast and Furious caps. That would make sense. All right. Would you rather have the next shooter as point classes or point blank? You prefer point blank myself. Personally, I already have my point blank cast, so it doesn't matter to me. I think for the general public though, I think more people would want that Time Crisis cab.
There you go.
It wouldn't be surrounded if MK4 came with missing characters, nothing surprises you. Exactly. I think so too. You're scared what WrestleFest is going to look like if they end up with 8 wrestlers. Do you remember when we talked about WrestleFest?
Yes.
Remember that game?
Yes.
So yeah, that's one of the few games that I think has been rumored to come out that has a high chance of missing core characters of the game because of various lawsuits that are happening. They don't have the license to that character anymore. So out of a game that has 8 playable characters, again, what's an acceptable change ratio? Because this is the whole topic. Like, should
Can't they
they?
just call them the names?
Hmm?
Like they call them what they look like. Some of those like bootleggy games where instead of like
Yeah, the name
Macho Man, it'd be Very Strong Man.
very strong man and using its likeness as images, NIL. Maybe if they don't do that and call it that, they would potentially do a swap in with some other characters. Like,
Yeah, and then instead
yeah.
of calling it like Fast and Furious, Fast and Ridiculous,
Fast
it would be
and
WrestleMania.
ridiculous.
It'd be Russell Conundrum.
Those are games that we would find on the iArcade, not on Arcade.
That'd be awesome. Though.
Yeah.
I'd be like, when did they go all like bootleg?
Yeah, bootleg games are fun. I mean, if you're looking for a bootleg game or two, iArcade definitely has some versions of games that would be considered bootleg versions of games.
Instead of the rock, it's the stone.
The stone. That's right.
Oh, sorry, it varies too close to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, okay. Got
Stone
it.
Cold Lukewarm Austin.
Yes, you're having too much fun now.
I'm having way too much fun.
Yeah, I like it.
The cats.
The cats, the kitties are here. All right. Jester Tester says, you agree the company stopped listening to the hardcore gaming community a long time ago? They are definitely appealing to the casual gamer. And this is what makes me, I guess, as a longtime fan of the company, just more disappointed for how they're leaving some of their hardcore fans in the dust. Maybe once a year, once in a while, we do need to have that title that's gonna be complete, that has most everything in it that we'd like to. But yeah, that's gonna be a hard reality. The company has to keep growing, and the only way they're gonna keep growing is by marketing to the casual fans that are gonna watch Fast and Furious 10, and they're gonna be like, "What? I can buy Fast and Furious arcade cabinet, dude! This rocks! I don't care if they don't have all 21 cars; they have 8 cars that I can play. There's 2 games. Oh, this is awesome!" Isn't that the person that would buy a cabinet like that?
Yeah, that'll be you.
Okay, so let's take a quick look at some of the different arcade cabinets that have come out over the years. So again, we're talking about classic titles. So let me know in the chat, out of all the cabinets and we're just going to talk 3/4 scale cabinets right now. Out of all the cabinets, let me know which ones you think they truly nailed, from either the game itself, the cabinet design. Like, which ones are the ones that we felt that Arcade1Up truly did a great job on. So let me know in the chat while you do that, while I pull up the cabinets here. So I have a list of 69 different cabinets. We're just going to take a look at this. Yes, plus modern ones.
Plus modern ones.
Plus modern ones.
Before we do,
go ahead.
Console Fanboy, we want to thank you for that $4.99 super chat. And they say, I just want to announce that I beat Welcome to Die 10-9 last night on the mats at MK1, which means I now have the belt. Sorry for the plug, B.
Congratulations, MK1. That's you probably could beat a lot of people in Mortal Kombat, but Welcome to Die, wow, 10-9 victory. That's pretty significant, man. Good job. All right, P-Dubs is here. What's up? He says, we all had this conversation when Blitz came out. With all the concessions made, should they even release the arcade? Now FNF is watered down version of the game. Is it worth it? Only you decide. That's a great point. Great point. Absolutely.
You don't have space to eat.
Eat. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is, look, arcades from originally the Street Fighter 2. Let me know in the chat if you think this was a good enough title back then. So I mean, like, this was the first cabinet that I ever got, and from a gameplay standpoint, the games themselves were always okay. The bad parts about these cabinets were the sticks and the buttons and the quality of that game experience, because now you had physical hardware that was limiting the way that you played. But there was no concessions on any of these classic games. Y'all played well. It was just fine. So those are the titles there.
When you say concessions, are you talking like popcorn and stuff?
No, I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about gaming stuff. We got Classic Centipede. Again, all these older titles, The games I think were more than fine. It was just the cabinet quality that we might have been playing around with, but these were all okay. So from an elimination standpoint, these continue to get better. Controls eventually started getting better. Rampage, they've never re-released a Rampage cabinet. Never owned this, but 3 players on a tiny control panel was a little bit iffy, but the games themselves, the classic games, Rampage, Gauntlet, Joust, Defender, no issues with the emulation for these cabinets in these games, these classic titles. Final Fight. Oh, this was a fun cabinet. I borrowed this from Outrun the Neon Sun. These were good titles. Mortal Kombat. Again, no issues with anything. Golden Tees played really well. This is one of the few games. Actually, we had a Golden Tee for a little while. Remember that?
I thought we had a fakey golden too.
No, it was a real one.
the
It
real
was
one?
this exact Golden Tee. But the problem was I had zero nostalgia for this
Yep.
game. And I tried to get my parents and other people to play it. And they're
Nobody
like,
played it.
nobody likes golf. So we ended up, selling it. But sorry. But it played really well. Trackball was really good, and the games themselves are all really good. All right, Marvel superheroes. Even this generation of arcade fighting games, right? So when you got into the Marvel superheroes era of late '90s fighting games, or like mid 2000 or mid '90s to late '90s, these were all running well. Star Wars, probably one of the best cabinets that ever came out from the control standpoint to the gameplay and everything was super, super awesome. So that was super, super awesome there. So you can keep checking. So let me know in the chat again which ones you think were really good. There were so many versions of the Marvel Superheroes cabinet that came out. This was the special edition version with the buttons and sticks. So this was one of the better cabinets I think that people really enjoyed that actually had Samuel buttons and sticks. If you like the title, the artwork, the design was one of the best cabinets I thought back then. I never got into the Marvel Superheroes game. I like the later iterations when it got into the Murph Versus series, but those are good. All right. Versus series. Turtles cabinet. Do you remember when I bought the Turtles cabinet? Were you happy or sad when I bought it?
Well, sad. It was pretty big.
Yeah, it was. It was one of the first things. But even Turtles only had 2 games on it. But man, playing a 4-player game with all 4 of us on the cabinet.
All 4 adults.
4 adults with our 4 family members, and all 4 of us are playing it for the first time. Like that was pure nostalgia for me. That was really, really awesome. So Turtles, I thought was a really good cabinet for us to have together. Burger Time, classic stuff. NBA Jam played really well. Frogger cabinet took some concessions with the actual design of the cabinet, so it's not the same artwork. So this might be one of the first cabinets where, even though the gameplay, do you remember Frogger?
Yes.
Back in the day,
yep.
Right? Blip, blip, blip.
Cross the street.
Yes.
Get smushed.
But Frogger had issues with the licensing of the artwork. So the artwork now, most of these other cabinets were kind of replicas of the artwork for the cabinet, but this is a different Frogger design than the original one. So this artwork taken to play, like, is that a concession? You can't replicate certain parts of the artwork.
You're using concessions that way.
Like, yes.
Liberties,
taking liberties with the cabinet design, because people that like Frogger, you're missing that. So that was one of the first ones.
Frogger having a suitcase and a tie.
Yeah, I never had much nostalgia for this cabinet either, so I don't know what the original one, but I know that there was missing some stuff. HM Fanatic was saying the Frogger music was terrible and the artwork sucks, so you modded it to look like the original arcade cabinet. So yeah, that's right. Okay, so here we're going through the rest of it. Pac-Man 40th edition had the wood grain, so people now started looking the wood grain look. That was a version of the cabinet. The sit-down Star Wars. This was one of those things where a better idea in theory than execution. I remember when the bench first came out, I was like, "Oh, cool, a sit-down version of the game," but it ended up taking up too much space. It wasn't comfortable to play. I actually finally turned it into a stand-up again. Finally, right behind me. So yeah, it's back to a stand-up. Golden Axe, Altered Beast, Shinobi. These were excellent games to play. I never owned this cabinet, but Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder artwork, I think a lot of people were happy with this. Is one of the better games that was released by Code Mystics. Good stuff. Miss Pac-Man, we had this one. Got rid of it.
Yeah,
but it's really
Moo's favorite sleeping spot.
Yes, but you don't have many like issues with Pac-Man games, right? The 80s title, the whole point is like the 80s titles don't have issues with the emulation. So now it's just about the cabinet design, artwork, whatever. There wasn't many issues with Miss Pac-Man. The infamous Buck Hunter cabinets.
The one that went through so much cosmetic surgery.
Yes. We went through a lot of work with the Buck Hunter series. And this was one of those, I never knew the original games enough to know if the Buck Hunter games, because there's technically 4 games on here. It says Buck Hunter Pro, Buck Hunter Open Season, Buck Hunter Safari, and Buck Hunter
Safari Outback.
Safari Outback.
So it's just in Australia.
So even though it's 4 games, this might be somebody had mentioned this, very similar to what they did with Fast and Furious. There was expansions to the original games which added more scene locations, but then they called it 4 different games. But do you remember when we were playing, it actually only gave you 2 options.
Yes,
it was Buck Hunter Pro or Buck Hunter Safari.
Yes.
Right? Remember that?
They just went with the first 2 titles on the box.
So this actually might have been our first indicator that Arcade1Up considers expansions of original games as separate titles, because from an arcade standpoint, guess that's true, right? You release a title and you want to keep it fresh. Instead of doing a whole new game, you just add an expansion to it, right? It's Buck Hunter Open Season, so it's the same game. You just add 7 more scenes, but they called it 2 separate games or 4 separate games in this instance. So yeah, is it marketing? Is it deceptive? Is it misleading when you say like there's 4 games in there, but when you look on the cab and you try to select it, there's only 2?
So you're saying they stuffed the Open Season and the Outback into the existing 2 titles, just like scenes? Oh, okay. Well, I guess somebody got lazy with making the little slider carousel. I can only do 2.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else is different besides just the extra scenes, but this, now that I'm thinking about it, is the first time, might have been the first indicator that
at least they did something like, hey, we gave you 50% of the
and you got more bang for your buck, but they're calling it 4 separate titles on here. But in reality, when you go to the game itself, you only have 2 different options to select, so you can't even select it. So yeah, you love your big buck hunter. Also had compromise, right? That's true. All right, Golden Axe is still the only way to legally play Death Adder 4 players at home. It was never released on a console. 2-player Astro Mini. Great point. Oh yeah, the 80s Star Wars cabinet definitely had a cockpit, so was sure. All right, let's get back to the list here because we have a big long list. X-Men versus Street Fighter. This was a fun cabinet. Modern fighting games that played really well, so I dig those. Ooh, the Outrun cab. Remember Outrun?
Yeah. Just 2 games.
2 games. No, there's 3.
Is it 3?
And then there's a hidden 4th one too.
Oh.
Yeah. There's Turbo Outrun, Power Drift, and then they added there's 4 games here. There's 5 total games, right? But yeah, Outrun was fun. I no longer have the Outrun cabinets, but played well. Yeah, played well. Buck Hunter World. This is the one that we had. Tempest. I do have the Tempest cabinet right over there. I know people have issues with the controls, but this is also one of those where I think Tempest is this the one where Tempest is supposed to be a vertical screen and it's on a horizontal? So sometimes these classic games, the marquee title is supposed to be a vertical screen, but then they just change it to horizontal to capture the rest of the games. Is that an issue where the marquee title is not as accurate as it could be?
Yeah, I mean, at this point you've gone away from like that little like what you call a shark fin thingy. So if it's gonna look like it's supposed to look like, it should also play like it's supposed to play out, like, right? Yeah.
So I mean, I think the marquee game is always like the one that you want to have the most accurate, and I think that's my biggest issue with Fast and Furious, that the marquee game isn't even technically on there. So Street Fighter. Do you like this old style version of Street Fighter, this cabinet? Like the artwork, just the artwork compared to like Big Blue and other stuff.
I feel like it's a Trapper Keeper artwork.
What does that mean?
You don't know what a Trapper Keeper is?
What's a Trapper Keeper?
The folder.
Oh yeah,
the 3-ring binders with the
Oh, okay, I see. Yes, I got it.
You feeling the 90s artwork on it?
Yes. I forgot the title of it. Yeah. Definitely 90s Street Fighter Champion Edition. Very good. Dragon's Lair, amazing cabinet.
You finally threw away the box.
I did. I felt so
How long
sad.
Has it been?
It was like over a year. I kept that box just to have it because it was so nice. Dragon's Lair, Killer Instinct. Okay. Killer Instinct. This was interesting because this is a game where I wasn't quite sure if they were going to be able to do this cabinet right. This is a harder game to emulate, Killer Instinct, and were they going to be able to get it? I think that was the big question. They did it. It didn't have spectate mode, which was a big deal, but
it came with an anti-fatigue mat.
It did. The pro version that was $1,000. You remember that? Good job, Mrs. Kongzerus. You remember little details. This version didn't come with an anti-fatigue mat, the $1,000 version of it. So the controversy with this was that they released this version $700, $699, And then they like literally they were like, but you could spend $1,000 and get the pro model instead.
And an anti-fatigue mat.
And an anti-fatigue mat and a tin sign. So like from a
Oh.
marketing standpoint, even though there wasn't anything like technically wrong emulation wise, it was like, why would you do that? There's always kind of like marketing blunders where like I don't want this one. I'm gonna wait for the KI Pro version. And when the Pro version came out, there was issues with the actual sticks they ended up using. I would say though, even though this is technically a really hard game to like emulate and get wearing, Code Mystics is one of the best developers in the home arcade space. They actually were the ones that did development on this, and it is, from what I've heard, because I don't have it, is one of the better games to play both online with other people. Emulation, there's been no issues, and so that's a good technical feat that they did modern version of KI. So that was a huge win, I think, for those that really like the cabinet. It's a good cabinet for them, but I played this game more on the console than I did in the arcades, and so that's where like my nostalgia for this cabinet. I did want to get it, like I almost purchased it, but I'm sure you're pretty happy that I didn't get it.
Yes.
But it has Battletoads. Remember Battletoads?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, X-Men. Ooh, remember I told you said that this was actually one of your favorite games of all time.
Yes.
In the arcade.
In the arcade, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you ever want us to get an
Nope.
X-Men version? Why not?
Why do I like four people player? It's already a big cab and it has to sit in its own little island like turtles.
I really was on the fence about getting this because Mrs. Kong Zero S actually really liked this cabinet. You're a big X-Men fan growing up, right?
I was, but
Yeah.
I'm not enough to get an Arcade1Up and take up space in our house.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, my big thing was that we could play this game on my modded Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles already. So yes, we could play X-Men there. So you don't need the physical cabinet. But it's a beautiful cabinet, no? Who's your favorite X-Men?
I think I played as Storm a lot.
Yeah? In this game? But in general, your favorite X-Men is, don't tell me. Phoenix.
Yes,
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey.
Why is Jean Grey your favorite?
Because she became a Phoenix. She's an Omega level X-Men. Omega level mutant.
All right.
Mutant.
X-Men. Good cabinet. Very simple. Has a couple games on there. All right. Space Ace. Oh, we never saw the Space Ace cabinet come out. Unfortunately, these were old renders, versions of Mortal Kombat. Okay, let's get into some more modern titles. All right. Getting through Big Blue, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. No issues. Simpsons, good. Running, Outrun, Ridge Racer. Okay, Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer came out and was like, this was a surprise. They went from Outrun, skipped a lot of other racing cabinets, and went to Ridge Racer, which was like a, late 90s PlayStation 1 era game. It's like, could they pull off this emulation? Are there any concessions or liberties taken from this cabinet? This was actually a really well done cabinet for them. So they have the ability to put out a racing title that most people really enjoyed once they played it. It was like, is this a nostalgic title for you? No, but like it looks good, it plays well. So Ridge Racer was a big win for most people, in my opinion. So I think they did this game really well in terms of gameplay that they had. But there's sound issues. There's sound issues with Ridge Racer. I didn't know there were sound issues. Let me know what sound issues there were. But Ridge Racer was really good. Yeah. All right. Ridge Racer was early 90s? Was it? All right. I don't remember the actual game. I know it was PS1 era, so maybe mid 90s. I want to say mid 90s. You want to look it up for me? When did Ridge Racer arcade game come out?
Arcade, right?
I could
not
be
the
connected.
console game.
Yeah, I could stand corrected on that. But let's get going. Tron, classic arcade, one of the best cabinets they put together. Sans the breaking joystick, but from a games look standpoint, I would love for them to consider doing a remake of Tron, like a deluxe or XL version of it, all single one-piece design with a full-on crazy recessed bezel like they did with the other Arcade1Up deluxe cabinets. Oh, I think a Tron re-release will look sick. I think that would be great. When did Ridge Racer Arcade come out?
The first game, Ridge Racer, 1993, was originally released in arcades for Namco System
93.
22 hardware.
Right.
Later
System
ported
22.
to PlayStation 2 2 years later as a launch
All
title.
Right, you're
so
right.
93, and then in 1995 was when it went to PlayStation.
Okay, so 93. Ridge Racer was 1993. So, okay, but it was still, I would say, modern graphics. System 22 was a little bit before Namco System 22 games. That was also the same engine that used Time Crisis. So yeah, totally possible. Good point. All right. Does Tron still brick with updates? Carl Moritz asked. I don't think so. Yeah, it's also Mrs. Kong Zero's favorite hiding spot. This is true. That's true. All right.
Oops.
All right, click there. Tron. The S panel is still broken.
G
It's
panel,
still sad.
S panel.
Yes,
It wasn't the G panel.
it's not the G panel. I think it was the S panel. No, G panel. You're right. G panel. You like the G panel.
I like the G panel. That's a great
The S
spot.
panel is the top mod right there. Yeah, we found the G panel. All right, T2. Okay, this is another one where I have a T2. I did hear, and I don't have the original game to play too much, right? It's a one game cabinet, beautiful looking cabinet. I think there were some sound emulation issues with the flashing and some of the slowdown eventually that happens with the game. That actually surprised me that there was issues with the gameplay because, yeah, it's a
Own it.
simpler game to play. Yeah, I mean to emulate. So this one was surprising, but I think only the hardcore people really, cared about this one. I know there were some people that really cared about how the original played, but for most people, it just didn't I think resonate that this was a huge issue with the community. Most people just picked it up, started playing with it, and it worked for the most part. But this one had some issues. Oh, classic asteroid, centipede, Marvel vs. Capcom, my favorite, Super Pac-Man. All right, I'm just
That's a
going through
horrible
this list.
picture of Pac-Man.
Oh yeah, Galagas. Ooh, what do you like about these? Is this Liberties? What do you think about these fancy classic games getting releases like Supreme and stuff?
Sure, if you want to pay $500 more.
Not a fan. This did not hit this nostalgic bone for me. Chinatown Market, NBA Jam. No.
You're still trying to work that champagne.
Space Invaders. Oh, I don't know why. Maybe it's because the title licenses have been now put on other cabinets. Like you can play Space Invaders on the iArcade, you can play Space Invaders on At Games. But Arcade1Up once had a really nice Space Invaders cabinet. This was a marquee title for the arcade industry. And so if they released a revisited Taito Legacy with Space Invaders as the main theme, I would love to see a Taito Deluxe legacy cabinet in the future. I think Lewis Chambers and I were talking about this, but this would be really fun. I would love for them to see this, but I don't know. I know licensing is a big thing, and I think John has mentioned a couple of times that once his licensors go to other companies and does business with them, he's like, "Dude, you like cheated on me with another company, and we ain't doing business no more." So it might be part political to be able to go back and use the license they previously had because they're on separate cabinets and things. But this would be really cool to have them redo this. I think that would be really good. That would be awesome. All right, these are some other Pizza Hut Pac-Man. Yeah, Street Fighter 2 Clot. Oh, the Mortal Kombat. So these are good looking skins. This is an example of a cabinet with Centipede was supposed to be a vertical shooter, but then it's on a horizontal screen. So the main game, it's Centipede, but it's on a horizontal screen because all the other games on the cabinet, some of them use a horizontal screen. So there it is. Okay. Pac-Mania NBA Jam Shaq edition. Not nostalgic, but it's an XL size with Shaq. There's a giant 3D golf. This is a big cabinet I never got. It's an XL version with a 19-inch screen. Of course, the big issues with these cabinets, the XLs, look at that monitor. Look how much purple you see there. It was monitor gate. They use a cheaper TN monitor, so it had really bad washout on angles. So it's the big issue with these. There's always like something. That's the thing that people are saying that Arcade1Up releases something. And there's always something that's wrong. There wasn't much wrong with this cabinet, except some people didn't like the artwork. Do you like the artwork on this?
Everyone's on fire.
Fire. It's the Yoga Flame edition of the cabinet. Yes. These were actually pretty good titles. I think these were good releases. The game lineups on these were really good. I really dig the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo cabinet. I was really tempted to get this one, but I already have my Big Blue. Don't need it. But that was it. Dig Dug. Ooh, I really like Dig Dug too. Isn't this fun? Doesn't the cabinet look fun?
I keep seeing that because it used to be the little countercade.
I had a countercade version of Dig Dug.
Yeah,
I
that's better.
really like the Dig Dug cabinet. Like this is I don't know. I have fond memories of it, but classic titles. This is a Namco Legacy cabinet, but yeah, it has Pac-Man games. We can play this on this cabinet right here. It's on Miss Pac-Man, class of 81. Okay, Joust. This is a reskin of a Mortal Kombat, but the control scheme is Mortal Kombat, but it's skin like Joust. All right, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Back to Dragon's Lair. Oh, okay. So finally, we're talking about some of the cabinets they released in the last year. So Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Okay. What was the issue with Marvel vs. Capcom 2? Do you remember?
You bought it.
That I bought it? You don't know.
Coin door? Fakey coin door? No coin door?
Yeah, I mean, so from the look standpoint, the first thing that people noticed about this cabinet was that it's a Mortal Kombat shaped design midway, but it's a Capcom title. The Mortal Kombat cabinet, see, these are like the exact same. It's midway, but that's a Capcom. So from Arcade1Up standpoint, they were like, even though it's designed like midway, this is a generic arcade shape that we're just gonna put different titles on. So I think that was the first like issue. I was like, it's a beautiful looking cabinet, but one, the nostalgic side artwork, there was no official Marvel vs. Capcom 2 artwork, so they went with that design. But it was like, why is it a Capcom Marvel 2 cabinet in the shape of a midway cabinet?
Because they're recycling, reusing, reducing.
They could have,
Close
but
the
in my
loop.
opinion, the better cabinet that is absolutely unique to Capcom is the big blue. They should have used the big blue design to release Marvel vs. Capcom and for people to have multiple big blues. I think that would have been the better thing to see here. So first off, that's the physical like liberties that I saw from this particular cabinet. The second thing,
Why did you quote your liberties?
liberties, because you call it liberties versus concessions.
Liberties is what people use.
Concessions, no?
And concessions, I think, of popcorn.
Yeah, is that not what people say? Am I saying the wrong terminology? Yeah,
It's like people saying ostensibly versus allegedly.
allegedly, ostensibly.
Ostensibly.
All right, whatever the issue is with the cabinet. So the gameplay we knew was from an online gameplay standpoint, there was input lag on the control inputs to when you see it on the screen, and it's a technically beefier game to run. So even from when you're not playing online, is there going to be some input lag? And then the true issue that came out with this cabinet was the lack of actual online head-to-head play from the get-go. So this was advertised that it would be online, that this would be one of the best ways for you to play it online with other people. 6 months later, it finally comes out and is not the experience that we hoped it would be. It is still not the experience we hoped it would be. There is delay-based net code that's being used. And so if you are playing with somebody from the East Coast and you're on the West Coast, you have high ping rates and it's no good. You have to play somebody local and you have to be on Wi-Fi. Sorry, you have to be corded on Ethernet in order to have a decent connection. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's MBC2 issues. So lots of concessions, liberties. Supposed to be like one of the best games ever released, but it had all these little things that just like that like they couldn't quite get it right, especially on the online play. In the online play, you still to this day, when you play against somebody, it reloads up to one stage because there's only one stage that can like handle the connections and the whatever hardware they have. Because in the game when you used to play it, there would be like every character had its own stage and it'd be different 2D backgrounds. Now there's only like one stage you can play and you play the same stage over and over and over again.
Sad times, we're all connecting to one single desktop machine under someone's desk.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, the head-to-head pretty connection. So Marvel vs. Capcom 2, big release, still falling short on some of the promised gameplay. If you're playing it offline, playing with other people, that's fine. The other games on the cabinet are fantastic. Marvel vs. Capcom 1 still plays well, but the marquee title, it was a miss. I think they had, I've been using this term that I've been calling Arcade1Up, like arcade 75% up, because they keep giving you 3/4 scale versions of arcades with 3/4 of the content. Yeah, it's pretty good, right? Like they take off about 25% of what you thought it would be. And yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna keep going with that joke. I thought it was cool. All right, NFL Blitz. This is called NFL Blitz Legends for a reason. Do you know what issues, concessions, things they took out of the game from this?
Not at all, because it's not in our house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I never built it. I actually have this with Outrun the Neon Sun. He has it in his house, in his place. And yeah, the big thing when we were looking at this in Chicago for the first time, it played well in person. For us in person, I think the game played well. One of the known issues that we knew was that there were NFL is really big into concussion policies, right? And so in the original arcade game, you used to be able to like tackle somebody after a play. They would call it late hits. So they knew that there would be no late hits in this version of the game because they didn't want to advocate extra violence after the play, because that's not allowed in current NFL standards. So to protect player safety and for things, they're like, we're going to make the arcade version a little bit more currently accurate and no late hits. You can no longer hit.
I love how folks didn't see it online, they didn't do just a late hit. Kongzerus actually had to have a little tap afterwards.
Late hits. I
Late
love late
hits.
hits on Mrs. Kongzerus. um, so that was the first.
Please, that's what we were doing beforehand. Let's talk about what we're doing now.
Oh, and we'll do it later too. Blitz was missing late hits. It also was missing some of the roster, right? Because there was named players in the roster. And yeah, they were missing some things. So the cabinet design, I think, was great. They used 49-way joysticks, which I thought was really, really great as well. And the big faux pas with Blitz was also when it was released, it was not online. When the cabinet was released for football season, it took about 3 months for that cabinet to get to an online place where you can play it online with people. And then there was only one game that you can play. I've not tested this personally myself, so I don't know the state of online play, if there's frame drops, if it works really well with each other. I think today, Blitz is a good experience. And if people are okay with missing the late hits components of it, I think the online lobbies are pretty decent. You can play the game just fine. And it's a fun game, especially in person to play. So I think I don't know much more about it because I haven't played it myself. There's concessions to it, but Liberties, Blitz, I get 75% of the game is there. Arcade 3/4 up. Yeah. Dep. Lots of tackle animation was missing too. Good point, Bob. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right, Blitz is one of those games where they could, in theory, swap assets, release a 2024 version with modern rosters. You might sell more, but upgrades to DLC. Yeah, and for things that are missing, since there's so many players in the game, so many things happening, you kind of don't miss certain aspects of the game because if a roster still has 90% of the people there, you're not going to look for the 10% of the people that aren't on the roster. The game still plays the same, even if some of the names and the marquee people aren't missing there. But Blitz, for the most part, I think played really well for everybody that was there. Okay. And then the Killer Instinct Pro, which we kind of touched upon with the anti-fatigue mat. The big issue with this, I think the only big issue was that the HDMI out when it first came out didn't have audio out, it had video out, and then the buttons and sticks were the big issue. And then price point. I think people were hoping this would be the best cabinet to come out. It's the pro version of a cabinet. When you see pro, it's professional. It should be 100% beautiful. I think those little things made it like not pro for people that got it. So, but the gameplay is still great. The Codemixes guys did really, really well. That was all the cabinets there. So this year, now we are caught up to 2022, right? All of the cabinets that were released up to 2022. Now we're in 2023. 2023. What are we doing in 2023? These are the cabinets that we now get from Arcade1Up in 2023. It is now on their Arcade1Up website. It's weird, the Arcade1Up website. They have a lot of the cabinets that are here, but the big lineup of cabinets that I showed you, many of them aren't even on their website anymore. They have 3 pages of content. Even the deluxe cabinets are hard to find. You see the Pac Junior, the Junior Pac-Mans and Arcade1Up Juniors there. You see the pinballs there. It's like almost like they're trying to dictate what products they want to continue selling moving in the future or let know that happen. But a lot of their old products, their Gen 1 stuff, is not even on the site anymore. Their photo booth, their projector cade is all still here. You could still buy a projector cade if you wanted to. It's still there. Couch cades, but all the stuff is not there. So this is the first cabinet. The Star Wars cabinet was the first release that came out this year in January. It was a re-release. It was Star Wars, a re-release of the original cabinet with different artwork. It had light up coin doors. So even though this screen says it's really slanted, if you look at the Arcade1Up version right here, it's not as slanted, right? And so it's kind of like, why do they continue to show a picture, a render of the cabinet that is not screen accurate, right? Isn't that this is it? Yeah, this is like we're in 2023 now. They've had years of all these different product releases, and this render is still inaccurate. This picture that this person is playing, this is not accurate. Is not that slanted. This is not an accurate representation of what that cabinet looks like. They should now replace these renders now that a product has come out with a photo op of the real actual cabinet because it is 100% a re-release of the stock cabinet that I showed earlier. So the one that's behind me. So for folks that know what it looks like, it does not look like. So that's kind of like a first issue. So there's always something with these cabinets and the releases and the information that we're getting about these cabinets. So I think that's a little bit misleading there. Okay, and then we have the 3 deluxe cabinets: Mortal Kombat Deluxe, Pac-Man Deluxe, and Class of 81 Deluxe. These deluxe cabinets, I have the Class of 81 here. I would venture to say these deluxe cabinets are probably some of the best Arcade1Up products that they put out to date.
Sturdiest, because I also can climb into that and not break it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we built it.
This is true. You did get inside of it. You
You
got
completely
inside.
forgot.
Yeah, no, I don't forget. There's little things like I fixed the little waterfall complete thing with the sticker. I lit up the coinders on here. But besides those 2 things, the screen's better. The gameplay is good for these classic titles, especially for Pac-Man and Class of 81. I don't think there's many things people are complaining about. The marquees are really nice. These are probably some of the best products to date from Arcade1Up. Got to give them kudos. No issues with the emulation. Classic titles, right? Yay, yay, yay. Mortal Kombat Deluxe, while it's still beautiful, we know that besides the other midweight games, online play for Mortal Kombat is still a little bit laggy and there's no spectate mode. So I think those are some of the big issues still with Mortal Kombat Deluxe cabinets, but it's still a great looking cabinet for those that have it, that have played online. Its matches, it probably doesn't compare to Fightcade and things. I heard through the grapevine that it might be on sale. Somebody might be selling it. Zohar is selling his Mortal Kombat. He bought it over and over again. So you can check it out. It's on OfferUp. All right. And then finally, we are at Fast and Furious. So Fast and Furious is now available for pre-order. For folks that are sticking around this late in the show, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I kind of kicked off the show talking about a video that I posted earlier today. The marquee title is called The Fast and the Furious. It shows this beautiful green Mitsubishi Eclipse.
It's not in there?
You can't play the Mitsubishi Eclipse on this game.
And then the picture has the green Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Even here, right? What car is that in the actual thing? So I don't even know if that's a Mitsubishi Eclipse in there. Yeah, so the 8 games that you can play in this are here. Let me go back to here.
Sorry, click on the button.
Click
Stop
on the
screen.
right.
Share screen.
Yes.
Pick your screen.
Yes. Yes.
Let's share. There we go.
All right.
Can everyone see my screen?
Thank you, Mrs. Congress. So this is from the app. I took a screenshot of the app from Fast and Furious. If you want more information and where I got some of my source info, it's actually on the app itself right now. So if you go to the app, you can look at
11/11. Everyone make a wish.
Oh, yes. Fast and Furious. Interesting facts. This is your chance to play a show that the world that you don't have friends, you only have family. The onset of the world's most furious franchises coming after the success of Too Fast, Too Furious. Raw Thrills released arcades the first chance to step into the driver's seat in 2004 edition of Fast and Furious arcade, jam-packed with fast cars, faster gameplay. Get ready to race and see if you can handle it. These are the
last ride.
Yes, these are the 8 cars: a Chevy Camaro, Ford GT, a Ford Mustang, a Ford Mustang GT, a Nissan 350Z, a Nissan Skyline GTR 34,
skip it.
Pontiac Solstice, Saleen S7 Twin Turbo. No Toyota Supra, orange Toyota Supra, no green Mitsubishi Eclipse. Those are like no RX-7 that you're racing. Like these are marquee titles in the original game that are missing from the title. So it's just, I don't know, the 12 tracks, and watch the video. I'm not going to rehash the video, but there's 12 tracks you can play on the original game. And Drift, when Drift came out, it says, in the true spirit of Fast and Furious franchise, the spectacular team at Raw Thrills once again added to the original Fast and Furious title in 2007 with the Fast and Furious Drift expansion. Took the original title, adds maps, cars, upgrades, and secrets. Arcade is back once again to bring you both the original title and its expansion. Time to come out of retirement, see what you have to reach first place. This line here is what pisses me off. This is the part that really irks me, that they're saying this is both the original title and its expansion, when it is obviously not. This is the same 8 cars that are listed for the first Fast and Furious, the same 8 cars here in Drift. It now says the 7 different tracks you can do in Drift are these. But what happened is, in the Drift version of the game, it was an expansion. You can play those 8 cars or those new cars, but you can play the old 12 tracks plus these 7 cars. So yes, it's an expansion, but you can't call it the Fast and the Furious. You cannot. This is my thing. You can't call the marquee game Fast and Furious if the actual real game is not there. I did some comparison gameplay. That part still boils me that I don't know that they're calling it something that it isn't. That they took drift and they're splitting it in half. That's the part that I have the most issue with. So, all right, that's my speech. That's my spiel. Time to check in with the chat and see what's going on. Oh, console fanboy's talking about selling his cab. You want to buy a Mortal Kombat Deluxe cabinet?
I'm good.
Yeah? No? I like my MK1 better, so sorry. Sorry. No Dodge Charger, unacceptable. Yeah, there's no Firebird. There's nothing. There's so many cars that aren't in there that like are part of the original lineup. It's like
green eclipse.
How do you miss the green eclipse? That's a crime. Right? Like, how can you not have the freaking car? Like, you got the license for the artwork. That's what I don't understand. You got the license for the artwork, but it's not in the game. So here's the reason why it's not in the game. All right, so
Because
no
they
Charger.
got the license for the artwork. That's as best as they can do.
No, there's more to it than that. A little bit more to it than that. Oh no! I don't want to do that. Okay. The Fast and Furious Drift, the real arcade game, did not have the eclipse in the drift version of the game. It was only in the original Fast and Furious game. So, by logic, if this is only the drift version of the game, only the car library that was on the drift games was available to use on this cabinet. So that just makes it more like if this is the cab skin, if they were really would have made me happy is if they actually, instead of calling it the Fast and the Furious, call it the Fast and the Furious Drift and actually do that. Call it what it is. So like skin it and make it look like Fast and Furious Drift. It should look like this. Right?
Sorry, we're selecting our screen. Do you see my screen? Keep clicking.
Thank you, Mrs. Kongzer.
You're welcome. I can't see the chat, so you know.
All right. This is what the arcade artwork looked like for Drift.
Fireball red.
Just call it what it is. Call it exactly what it is. Call it Fast and Furious Drift. Make it red, right? Maybe make the Fast and Furious portion like look bigger. But this is Drift. That's it. That would make me feel like this is what we're really getting. That's it. All it is. You just need to call it exactly what it is. Call a spade, and not call it the Fast and Furious because it's not. This is not what we're getting. We're getting Drift, and they're saying the tracks that are from the Fast and Furious game are the original arcade, but it's not.
Well, I mean, like it could be because it's falling in line with when the movie's coming out, right?
Yeah.
What number? Like 22nd is coming out.
Number Fast and Furious 22nd when Vin Diesel says, "Oh, I live my life a quarter mile at a time." And him and Letty, but like, yeah, we only drink Coronas in this house. Ha! No. I love the Fast and Furious movies. They were great. They were so good.
All 22 of them?
Yeah. No, I really like the first one. The first one was good.
Okay.
All right. So J French Fanatics talking about GM killed Pontiac in 2009. Last late, which your Firebright talking about car licensing. 360 says literally drift broken in two. You'll be able to drift in Fast and Furious because the app says tracks, biggest drift. There's no drifting in Fast and Furious. The name not crisp. Now that you look at it, Sonic Racing All Stars was a real arcade game. That's what they should do alongside Daytona, obviously, right? No one likes the tuna fish. Get your ass out of here. Nobody likes the tuna. Get yourself to Fat Burger. All right. Well, thank you all so much for a fun conversation about classic arcades versus modern titles. I think we kind of went the route of,
I have no idea what route you went.
I wanted to talk that they did the old classic titles right. Every single one of those cabinets that we went through, classic titles don't have issues. They don't have to take as many liberties and concessions from them because the games just play well, right?
So ostensibly and allegedly, the first few titles were great, and towards the tail end, we just got lazy, senioritis.
All right, talk to the people really fast.
I am talking to people. No, you need to drink Bud Light pinkies out. That is very true. Your pinkies,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so light.
Mm-hmm.
What import tuner did you have?
Talking about my old car. I was a rice
Oh
rocket.
my god.
Yeah, I used to drive a little rice rocket. Remember? What was it?
Yes.
What did I drive?
A Honda Acura. No, Honda Accord 99, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are not eating sushi. We're eating futamaki.
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 Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. Oh my gosh. I remember your car. I remember it very fondly. It made a lot of noise and he sat in the back seat
Mm-hmm.
for a V4 car.
Made a lot of noise in the back seat, huh?
He made a lot of noise in the back
You
seat.
made a lot of noise in the back seat.
Oh no. It was not a Civic, it was an Accord.
Accord. It was a 99 Honda Accord Coupe with the body kit, had Altezas, had neon light. It was a four banger though, so V4 engine did not have any go. It was
Nope.
like
It was like you step on the
Austral
gas, you're
no
like,
go.
please speed up before I get hit by the car.
Oh, you had a Prelude? Oh,
Oh.
H22 engine, dude. I was like back then when fixing up cars. I was like, oh, we could drop an H22 engine, Prelude engine into my Accord. That would be like the upgrade, right? Man,
It's
nah.
not a rice rocket unless you prepared some sushi.
Oh, he said
on
he's
it.
getting sushi. All right,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
All right, so wasn't the movie called Tokyo Drift? They could not license the word Tokyo when they made the game. The actual game itself is just Drift. The movie is called Tokyo Drift, but it's called
The
Fast
game
and
is just
Furious Drift. So they didn't actually use Tokyo Drift in that name. All right, dude, you have a GTR? What? Super dimensional. So the Nissan Skyline no longer released. Came out with the Skyline car. They now turned it. You mean talk about the GTR?
Yeah.
I love a GTR, man. Oh man,
I'm still
lucky
thinking of
you.
every time I hear
Mhm.
GTR, I think of
Mhm.
the initial D, the Hong Kong version starring Jay Chow.
GTR,
I want a GTR.
GTR, Skyline, GTR. Yeah, Nissan Skyline was legit boss one. Did I ever get an Eclipse? You only saw backseat. I really liked the Eclipse growing up. 2001 was a very influential year for me. I was like 18, 19 when the movie came out. I used to love that car with the underglow. I wanted to get underglow because of that car, but I never
What
got
color?
one. Blue.
Oh, blue.
Yeah, I had
You
blue.
didn't want the green one?
No, because like I wanted blue. I wanted blue in the glow because I had a black car. But green would have looked cool too. Man, I wanted to get an underglow. So bad. So bad.
You still can't. You put LED lights down there.
Yeah. You love how VTech was so big on it. So you want to know the funny thing, super dimensional? I just put a VTech sticker on my engine just so it could say VTech.
Talk about Chinatown bootleg.
Dude, you like pop the hood, be like, pop the hood, pop the hood. Yo, what's up, VTech? Like, it's a dumb teenager, you just wanted to show off that it's like, whoa. And then I took it to the mechanics. He'd be like, that's a VTech engine. I was like, I have no idea. Like,
the sticker's there. It tells you so, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, Datsun. Wow, that's really old.
That's old.
Datsun is so classic. Right, that beat was wild. Yeah, I used to pull up to people like. So here's dumb thing. Like I was one of the few people in college that would have a car. Right, so I would always pile people into my car. I think one time I piled like 7 people into my Accord. Somebody was in the trunk, and even with 7 people in the car, I still thought my car could go fast. So we would pull up next to people, and people would like rev up because I was in a body kit. So I'd be like, vroom, vroom. Be like, even a Toyota Camry would just be like, zoom, and I'd be like, yo, what's up?
That was a V6 Toyota
That's
Camry,
how I
right?
dropped my car, by having 7 people in my car driving around.
How did you have 7 people in your car? It's
Yeah.
a 5-seater.
Yeah, no. So I had 2 in the front, then I had
4 in the back,
4 in the back seat, and 1 in the trunk. Yeah. Do you remember Jessica Kuratomi?
Yes.
She was in the trunk.
No,
Yeah.
somebody else.
No, we did a scattertones thing, and yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We're so sorry, Jessica.
She doesn't know anything about this anymore, but fun times. All right. Anyways, so thanks everybody for hanging out and talking about cars and things. Yeah, I was a Fast and Furious fan of the franchise. I'm no longer a fan of this. What is this? You also have a rare Ferrari F40 on your. Oh, you have a Ferrari F40 spoiler on 280ZX. Very cool, man. Lots of car fans here. Sounds like A1 Up. Oh, it was just a couple of 10-second cars. Nice. I like that. How many have you had in a car alive? She survived. We just went up the mountains to go look at some stars and things for a night trip with a bunch of people that wanted to see. What was it? What do you have?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you weren't on campus
We
when
wanted to go up to the Malibu cliffs.
that
Fun.
was cool when it's not on campus.
Have a great night, everybody. Have a safe week. Check out that Fast and Furious video if you haven't. This was a fun discussion about random things. Mrs. Kongzuras, cheers. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you.
I didn't finish my champagne. I let everyone down.
No, you didn't. You don't have to finish it. Don't worry. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Take care later. Bye.